Hello and welcome to ZeldaSpeedRuns. We have another A Link to the Past No Major Glitches tournament match here. This is Losers Bracket Round 5, Tam versus Trinexx. And on commentary we have Dow TMB and Apathy Duck. Take it from here.
A good one. Honestly, I don't know too much about Trinexx or Tam other than they both have pretty solid PBs.
Yeah, well, Trinexx definitely plays a lot of rando, but I mean, also plays a lot of NMG. I wouldn't even say he's necessarily like a random main or anything, but definitely been grinding NMG, so he's been coming down pretty consistently over the last year or so. And just say he's got the 127, 28 PB. Oh, I guess I looked at Tam's PB on the speedrun.com. It was like a 128, so he must have just gotten a recent PB too. So they're within 30 seconds of each other here. I think Trinexx is the higher seed in this though. But yeah, it should be a really good one. I mean, it's going to be NMG, right? So it's going to be, who's consistent, who's making mistakes. We all know those several minute mistakes that you can make in these races.
Only several.
Oh boy, it's not what you want.
But no, we really don't expect that. To me, once you start getting into like the 128, 127 range, you've learned how to mitigate a lot of disasters, right? So it's not often that you're going to die to Cold Stare or Helmsor King or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens occasionally, but it's not expected, right?
Okay, I was referring to my epic disaster last night.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, I don't think so.
So just quick catch up. I got hit getting tree rupees, and then I got hit doing the backup tree rupees, so I had to get Dark World Sasha, and I put the portal too low, so it was stuck in the wall, so I had to go back to Castle Gate against the Flames. We all know how that ended up. So yeah, normally when you think of a 2 to 3 minute loss, you're thinking like a Cold Stare death or something like that. But yeah, there's inventive ways to do it too. But I mean, like you were saying, like when you're in this like 127 range, you've probably learned a lot of like the like mitigating RNG and stuff, so you're a little bit more consistent there. I find the flip side in like this range is you're good enough to go for everything. You're good enough to like go for, go into Cold Stare with just like 2 or 3 hearts and be confident that you can get through it. You're good enough to, go for Vidi on like 4 or 5 or 6 hearts and go for it. But you don't quite have like the top level consistency yet. So I find like, especially when I was in this range, like I had the confidence to go for everything, even on low health, but not quite the consistency to necessarily back it up. So like a lot of your runs will just die in this range. So wouldn't be surprised if that's how this happens. I hope it doesn't. I hope we get a nice good race if both these guys can avoid one of those like big 2-minute time losses. This should be a real close one. You see, we're pretty much frame for frame right now.
Yeah, it's like what I expect a lot of times from runners in this range is that you get chipped for a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there, and you lose a little bit of health, so then you maybe play it a little bit safer. But like you said, the big stuff's all there, right? It's all going to be small stuff, and then maybe the small stuff adds up to the big stuff, but probably not.
Yeah, I mean, that's why in this range, it's like getting like seeing people drop like 1 minute or 1.5 minute PBs isn't that weird, because you just have a lot of runs die, and then it's the one that gets through is the one that's a PB.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a tournament too, so they might be playing it a little bit safer. But I don't, in this range, I don't expect to see any sort of powder or like maybe a mushroom or something. I know True Blue famously took it all the way to 125, so it's really not a bad safety to grab. It doesn't help you on Cold Stare, which is kind of the one place you wish it would help you. But it will at least help you for Vidi. It could help you for Trinexx. You can always have the option of taking the safety door too.
Yeah. Pretty good fight. And like this is like the small things here, right? Tam pushed Ball and Chain Guard down a little bit. So
yeah, well, you went with the 1 pot, right? So that's kind of one of the downsides of it. You're going to force him over to the right. But yeah, Trinexx going with the 8/. Again, this is a big fight you have to get used to in rando though. So, his rando experience coming in help there. Just, having the confidence to go for the 8/, maybe a little bit earlier than some other runners. But I mean, taking like 1 pot is fine. Like, people I think over analyze escape a little bit. It's really not a big deal.
Worst case scenario in escape is like you lose 5 seconds. So who cares?
Yeah, I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll get like over a 6, right? But like that's things have gone very poorly in that situation. But yeah, it's really minor time, especially in a race setting. Just not going to make a big difference. But Trinexx does get a little bit of an early lead over here. But I doubt this will hold the entire time.
It might not even hold through escape, to be honest. You know, bad
Sure.
key red or something, or just bad snakes can mess you up too.
Yeah, got good green guard RNG though, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, escape is escape, and we're already out of things to talk about.
Yeah, at least it finally got broken in RMG, so it's not just like every category is doing escape. There's now playing RMG, at least escape is different, but you still have to go 30 here. That's never ever gonna anything that would let you break escape is just gonna be illegal. So.
No. Well, then pump into the wall. Trinexx, you know, you see that rat. My instinct is to slash, but walking around I think is slightly faster. But sometimes walking around enemies, wow.
Yeah.
Tam couldn't walk around anything there.
Yeah, we always we're saying that Trinexx might have bad snakes or key rat. It's always the guy in behind that seems to get the bad RNG.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It just makes the gap a little bigger. But I mean, Trinexx having a pretty clean escape here. He's on pace for I think like a 52 or something.
Like
I look at that.
Pace, yeah.
Yeah. So real nice escape for him so far. Let's see what this key rat does. And not bad.
Did he? Oh, he did get the key.
Yeah, I
it was
a
a low
nervous.
boom, so I was a little nervous, but. But yeah,
it's a real nice escape from Trinexx. Gonna have a pretty good. I mean, the flip side is 5 seconds. Like you say, it's not a big deal. I mean, you'll take a 5-second lead coming out of escape. Like that's nice to have in your back pocket. Like, I mean, I think besides just like a death in Eastern or something weird, the biggest time loss you're probably going to see that is likely to be seen is messing up double readies, and that's like a 5 to 6 second mistake.
Big key skip at Eastern is similar if you get unlucky.
Yeah, that's true. But like, basically what I'm saying is in Eastern, you're probably only going to lose like maybe 5 to 6 unless something really bad happens. So, you know, having that in your pocket, that lead after escape is nice to have because at worst, you'll probably be coming out even after Eastern.
And as expected, both grab Sankart. Yeah, it's really nice. Even if it didn't heal you, having 1 extra health for this overworld would be super worth it. So, but the fact that it heals you is even better.
Yeah, that's the other thing with Sankart. It's like to skip it. Not only do you have to be really confident in the rest of your game, it's like you have to have a clean escape. Otherwise, you're just going to spend so much time picking up hearts in Eastern that it just doesn't even matter.
Yeah, like you can kind of get 2 on your way, kind of. It's like less than half of a second, but really what it boils down to is that even skipping Sank, you know, maybe you pick up an extra Heart and Hera that you wouldn't have, and the Heart and Hera is really slow.
Yeah. There's the one Heart in Eastern with the 2 pots where you get the one on the right instead of the top, and that's only like a 10 or 15 frame time loss.
No, it's less than 5.
Is it less than 5? Is it that small?
It's tiny.
Yeah, so that one's almost. So if you're coming out with 2, yeah, you can probably skip Sankart. But I mean, Tournament, no one's going to do it. And like, I really wouldn't expect players in this range to really be going for it. And if they did, I'd yell at them.
Shoot, Doom had a 123 with Sankart, so like.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't matter.
It really. I think 122 is officially the point where it matters. I think that's probably correct.
And yeah, like Tam had a little bit worse RNG on the overworld.
Aries gonna get a 122.59 with Sankart now just to prove me wrong. I'll show you if it matters. Yeah, and there's that heart we were talking about. Tam grabbed. Really, really cheap to get. Really nice backup heart.
This room that Trinexx just did very well is impossible to do fast.
Yeah, this is one of the I did the like complete baby strat, and they were just all cardinals for the longest time, just because it is pretty tough to speed up, and it can turn into a disaster just trying to save 5 frames. So
yeah, and Tam
nice
took it probably a little too safe. Actually, walked a little bit further left than they needed to. So spawn the third skeleton. A little unfortunate, but it's not too bad to destroy that one as well. And I haven't been paying attention to rupee drops, but Trinexx on the blue is not great because you're probably going to miss the red here.
Dude, I still don't know the order. I just don't know the order at all.
Yeah, it's blue, green, blue, red. Blue, green, blue, blue.
Blue, green, blue, red. Okay, I'll try to remember that for the future.
But yeah, just due to the way the drops spawn, you're a little bit less likely to get the red, but we don't care about likely, we care about what actually happens.
Yeah, and our prophecy's kind of coming true. We were saying all the bad stuff can happen to Eastern. It's kind of happening to Tam right here, so. Oh man, trying to drive that bow really far to the right.
Yeah, so when you're on stairs, moving diagonally versus moving cardinally, you get the same like north-south motion going north, but yeah, you still want to open that chest all the way to the left because
yeah, you want to move. You take advantage of that to move a little bit to the left, and then you come straight down and then move diagonal on the stairs.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, here we're gonna see like the first like hard room in the game, which is Zelda Gamer Room.
I've always said these two rooms are in the top 10 hardest rooms in the entire run, and you have to do them right here. In like Zelda Gamer Room is like probably my most practiced room because for a long time it was kind of like my default warm-up room because you get a lot of like nice little movement to practice in there, and it's just so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the room I practice the most, honestly.
Standard top right here. This is a pretty this is a nice balance of speed and ease of doing it. But you do want to count your arrows. Tam fired a little bit too fast. Gonna get red armors here. 2 more arrows, I think. Yeah. It's a little bit tricky sometimes.
And you see the old school spin for the pendant there at the end. Yeah, but Trinexx, 10:58 Eastern time. That's really clean escaping Eastern for him. So, had 14-second lead here coming out of Eastern, which is pretty beefy. You know, I don't think you can do much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, like sub 11 Eastern is definitely one of those big barriers at first for a lot of runners.
Yeah, I mean, this is right around this 127 ranges when you start seeing the consistent sub 11s, or maybe not consistent, but at least start getting them. So Trinexx is 2 seconds ahead of his PB. So I guess in his PB he had a 11:01. So nicely done so far.
Both runners hit the first spin speed of the game.
And went the correct way.
Spin speed is awful because it's a frame perfect trick.
Yeah, except I mean the way we do it, it's not necessarily it's just this weird it's almost like a party trick type of thing. It's not like you're doing a frame perfect press, you're doing that slide motion. But yeah, it's pretty easy to miss. Trinexx going for Unholy and gets it. See how oh wow, that was very nicely done.
And looks like they are not going for it. Yeah. Unless they were doing the Blaine strat of walking through that screen and then charging your sword on the next screen, which is not any faster.
Yeah, I think it's really close. It's like people went back and forth on that one. I think I know it's definitely faster to hold your sword the second time when you're coming for Thieves Town.
Mm-hmm.
But in that one, you have to walk a little bit further, so it's a lot closer to whether it matters or not.
Oh, Tam almost got hit by the guard, which is one of the most frustrating things when that guard does not see you. Oh, gets hit by that one? Please, video game.
Yeah. Some of these guards on this overworld are pretty annoying.
Actually, deserve to get paid. Which is more than we can say for most of them.
There's like 3 or 4 guards in the game that are like Employee of the Month, and the rest of them are just useless. Like all the ones in Dark Maze, those are the Those are the captains of the guard, apparently, because they
There's
are.
no light in the room. They're 6 miles away, and they will see you. Tell me how that works.
Or hear you when you didn't make noise. Like, it's amazing.
But yeah, pretty solid overworld from Trinexx. Overworlds are really one of the hardest things about this game to consistently do fast. So yeah, great job.
Yeah, and Trinexx, of course, is the has the famous like 10,000 splits. Actually, I think he's taken it down. He had, I think when he first started writing his Oversplitter, he had like a split for every screen, and it was ridiculous, and it kept crashing. So he's gotten his sub splits down to a manageable level, but he saved like 2 seconds on his overworld, and again, that was a very clean overworld, so that definitely makes sense there.
Tam doing a better job of counting the prize packs than we are, recognizing that they're on the red, opting to spin the Devilant there, which is only like 15 frames slower, but getting the red is really nice. So
yeah, especially at 6, because at that point you'd probably want to pick up the pot in here, because you really don't want to do 4 for the tree rupees. You need at least 9 for that. So getting the red there, of course, you risk nothing dropping, and then still even to pick up the pot. But on balance, probably spinning that antlion is probably the correct call.
50% of the time you lose like 15 frames, 50% of the time you save a second. Yeah, math probably works out to spinning's worth it. And we'll see if they go for... I mean, I assume Tam will not be going for this last spin speed, but Trinexx has gone for them all so far. This one saves more than Unholy spin speed, too, so...
Yeah, this... like, I've considered bailing on this in the tournament, at least, just because, like, if you do an PB attempt, you just, okay, I'm starting over. But in a race, even if you do it normally, I can see deciding not to. So I'm not sure if Trinexx goes for it all the time, but it does opt to bail out of it there.
And yeah, it saves more because Unholy spin speed saves like 30 frames, and that saves 40. So, like, is it more? Technically, but also not really. Right here in the Popo room. Well, not new anymore, I guess. It's almost 2 months old at this point, but...
I mean, considering the age of the game, that's new. Still call it new. Yeah, I mean, you can, like, it's pretty much everyone runs this strat now. The people used to have, like, a lot of small differences, but that's just become the strat now. Like, it's so good.
I still do the old strat. I gotta save 6 frames or whatever. Come on.
Does it actually save 6 frames?
If you don't slash, yeah, usually. What doesn't save 6 frames is missing arrows on Lamno, but that is an excellent first cycle on Trinexx's side. One arrow will finish. That doesn't get better than that. Excellent.
Well, I mean, apparently he missed an arrow down. Like, apparently it does save time. A very good opening for Tam too. Getting that top right worm is not easy. And unfortunately, just got a really bad spawn for the second one.
Just a little ahead of the worm there, and then everything falls apart once you miss an arrow.
This is what happens. When these worms are spawning like right on top of each other, it's really hard to deal with. That's a 207 or 607 desert for Trinexx. That was better than my gold until like a week ago when I got a like 7-second gold in desert. So I'm shocked it's not a gold for him, unless like his splits don't show golds or something. That's because that was a very clean desert. Like, I don't even know if he made really like any mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great desert. You can't complain about a 607.
Okay, subsplits apparently don't work with golds. See, I have no idea.
Subsplits are super weird, and I want to complain about them. They track your golds for each of the individual subsplits, but not for the big split, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, yeah. I was actually looking at them for some other speed game that'll go nameless in here for some bizarre reason, and like it was just, I started looking, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to deal with this.
I am taking one hit here on the overworld. Not the hugest of deals, but...
You don't want to take it early because the rest of the split is where you're more likely to take it, so you certainly don't want to be giving up free hits here. I was a little nerve-wracking on that. Usually you want to kind of overswim it and come back. So
And
Tam does end up getting in there.
The half-hearted damage is not a big deal. Like, that doesn't matter at all. It's the full heart that matters.
It does matter because you can pretty easily get hit by the skeletons in torches, and then it matters. But it only matters until you take something else. If you just take the one, then no, it doesn't.
Okay, we've hit all the spin speeds, but... Alright, second try on the most important one. We're going to be okay. Trinexx thought about just leaving Death Mountain. Just going through that door and saying, nope, I'm good, get me out of here. Unfortunately, does have to go to Hera, so decided against it. That Dead Rock tried its darndest. So did these Dead Rocks on Tam's side. What is happening on Death Mountain?
The standard? Like, this looks pretty normal to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yep. All right.
Yep. That's there's nothing you can do there. It's just gonna happen. I mean, it's really unfortunate Trinexx having such a nice clean light roll here.
Ugly, we're right here.
Yeah, it's annoying. Definitely a time loss, but you know,
sometimes the game just doesn't let you off the ladder. It's not your fault. Like,
no, yeah, I mean, it's the problem with light roll, right? It's just like, I mean, you got the blue ball RNG at the end, but you have so much RNG just leading up to that. Like, it can just be really annoying to get a nice light rolled.
yeah, like Tam was behind a little bit. That death, I think, is about 15 seconds or so. Like, it's not too bad.
Yeah, plus all the time he took taking boulders to the face.
That's the other
close
thing.
to, like,
yeah.
You know, he got fairly far, so it was probably 20 a second. Oh man, that's this is Hera, everyone. Strap in.
You died once in this split. That's not good enough for the game. Like, it's gonna keep getting you.
This split is just. I mean, this is the reason. Like, people say like Helma, but like honestly, Helma's not a big deal. Once like if you're good enough to even consider dropping Sankart, you're gonna have to deal with Helma. It's really this split that you need the Sankart for. I mean, honestly, there's obviously a couple other times it can come in handy.
Someone who skips Sank, I don't notice it in Hera, because if you're gonna die, it doesn't matter if you got Sankart.
I mean, I've gotten through Hera enough on one heart. Like, honestly, that feels like my normal is that I'm going through Hera on one heart, so.
Trinexx having a pretty decent Hera, other than the overworld, which is, how the game works. Like, this overworld just hates us.
I mean, the overworld was, I mean, he only took a half heart of damage, so I didn't quite see his, but, like, that's still a decent overworld for Hera. It may not be the fastest, but, you know,
I mean,
especially for someone who's in this 127 range, he was probably very happy with that overworld, honestly.
And as long as Moldorm doesn't do this.
Yeah. As long as Moldorm isn't Moldorm.
2 hits left. All right. This is a
no. No. Man,
what is Moldorm doing? Oh,
yeah,
that's being connected? Dude, the spin hitbox is so huge.
Well, the spin hitbox, I mean, even with like hammers, we saw like a bunch of wonky, like that hitbox in general is just
I think the tail hitbox just gets bigger when Moldorm's enraged or something, because hits from a million miles away connect when they shouldn't. I don't understand.
Yesterday I hit his head and it counted. Like, I don't. I literally slashed through his head and got a tail hit somehow.
Tam down to 1 heart.
Yeah, I didn't see if he hit the switch. Probably would have been a good call at this point. Did not.
No. Okay.
Maybe
just feeling a little bit behind at this point, because like
it could be, but you know, you still have blue balls and everything. You have Ganon warps. There's a lot of RNG in the game.
Or maybe just super confident in the Moldorm fight.
No one is that confident. Literally.
Please.
There is no such thing as being. I don't care how confident in this fight. You can just be a jerk and ruin your day.
Yeah, that's true. You can get frame rolled and just die. So
Yeah.
this is not a good spot to be.
No, that's not what you want to do.
Okay.
A lot of
Spin
times
might have
you-
gotten that, but okay.
Okay. Public service announcement: please don't vertical dash Moldor.
Actually, not on one heart.
I mean, that if you were gonna do it, that was probably the safest way because his head was heading to the right. But I don't know if he just purely hot read that or there's probably a little frustration setting in too. Like he's plus a minute on his splits, and like Trinexx is crushing it. Like you can see he's already at the sword there.
Yeah, this is about a minute deficit right here, so that's
like,
still within the realm of like awful blue ball RNG. But
I mean, this is a 125 light world right here. He's sub 24 master sword. He's a 2350. Like this is a very very good light world for Trinexx or anyone. Like I think you'd take this light world. Don't quite think you needed those arrows.
7 is like in that realm of if you're not comfortable, maybe missing a shot, just for safety, get the extra arrows, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're doing pickle shot here. I think 7 is going to use all of them up in Castle Tower, so
yeah, that's a good point.
You'll be one short for pod, and it's easier to get those, even though it's slower than to get the ones in pod. So.
Well, there is the like mimics to backup that. Like,
how many people have practiced that?
Literally me and FSG, I believe. I think that's literally it.
I think Louis has as well, but yeah, like it comes up so rarely. It's not really worth practicing.
I did it. I did it in like one of my D-Rusts. I hadn't even practiced it. I'm like, I'm just gonna go for this because I have 0 arrows. I'm like, oh, I got it. Neat.
Oh, you do it in RMG? That makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
because you're not going to have any arrows.
Yeah. Well, even last year in the tournament, if you didn't get any drops from Eastern, you had to do it. But like, it wasn't all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the new routing, I suppose you have even less now.
Ooh, you know that guard like. It's hard to get around him.
Well, the other thing is, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Trinexx just purposely gets hit by him, because, like, beams only save time if you know what to do with them, and the strat's pretty hard. Like, the beam strat in the red spears, like, I don't even see people really picking that up until they're, like, pushing 125s, because it's like, A, you never have beams, so why you bother practicing it, and then B, that strat is difficult by itself. So
yeah, I don't do it. It's very
and then
hard.
on top of that, it actually makes the archer key slower, right?
Yeah, by a few frames. Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, like in when I was in this range, I want it to get hit. So that's not a bad place just to take a hit if you're planning on it. Nice, very nice 4-hour strat though for Trinexx.
Late aggro on the guards can make this room a bit challenging, but okay. Didn't take a hit. Done fast enough, right? That's how we feel about this dungeon.
Yeah, it stayed on bow.
With that many arrows, I don't know if this is normal strat, but like one pot, bad aggro, and then you just bow the other one. Oh, that's unfortunate on Tam's side. No drops, please. Oh, nice poke dash to not.
Yeah, I never even considered doing that. That does preserve the drops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. That's actually really, it's really nice then.
That guard, he's not even doing his job, and it's still doing his job. Like,
yeah, like.
Now, the one downside to beams is if you have to slash in that room that Tam's in, all the guards notice you, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Does get his beams back, though, a little later than he probably would have liked them, but... Alright. So we always say, like, oh, well, blue balls can even it up. I swear to God, every time someone's ahead in a race, they're the ones who get the less amount of blue balls, so...
Did Tam almost get the key dash with beams? That would have been insane.
Yeah, I mean, you can just hot read it, right? Like...
Went down to the wall, so...
Oh, he was on the wall, yeah.
I literally don't pay attention to the Aghanim fight. Like,
No, I don't eat that either. I'm sure someone will tell us the amount of blue balls afterwards.
ooh, didn't quite read the RNG correctly there. Missed the second pot too. Once the guard gets a little off cycle there, the way they move is really awkward to throw the pots.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that room, honestly. Like, the worst is actually when the guard on the right slow aggroes, because he just hangs out over there for the longest time.
And you're just like waiting, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do?
Half the time I just throw the boom anyways and like hope he's gonna move into it, and then like it just hits the bottom one and then it's a nightmare.
Not many. That's okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 maybe. Well, don't worry, we can tell by Trinexx's 1 billion splits.
I'm gonna try not to do math on stream, but I think 3 blue balls based off his segment timer.
Okay, I didn't even see the second lightning, that's why I thought it was 2. Yeah, he has 3 in his PB, so it should be even here. And I'm sure Tam's about to get like 9 or something like that.
Yeah, you know, this game.
Especially with that first one being a regular ball. Oh no! All right, maybe we can actually get a little catch up here.
Okay.
Maybe we can get a slight catch up here.
I mean, worst case scenario at this point is 9 or 7. 7. So, with even just like 1 more energy ball, worst case is 3. So,
Yeah, there we go. So, won't be losing time to Trinexx at least. We'll see if he manages to gain a little. Oh, 1. Nice. So that's pretty big. That's 24 seconds. 12 for the 3 and another 18. 18-second time save.
which is equivalent to about 1 failed hammer jump. That Ropa almost hit Trinexx.
Yeah, I mean, that was a safe pattern, so you think he should have been okay.
Yeah, just maybe was a little bit too far left for my liking, but
That's fair.
Pod is a hard dungeon.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest tech in the video game, which is opening chests and picking up pots, and we do it a million times.
Yeah, it's also you just had like there's 2 things. Either you're on PB pace after Light World, or you had a terrible Light World and you go to a Dark World, right? And then like you still have Pod, and there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong in Pod. It's at least theoretically consistent, but there's just a lot of little stuff that can go wrong. I guess the only thing that's really inconsistent is like Turtle Room, and then Helma can give you just nasty RNG.
The berry RNG is very obnoxious. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, but berry RNG is only like frames or second. Like it's not going to kill your run, right? It's annoying, but I mean,
pay more attention to the screens than you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, but that's true for. I mean, that's more like Light World just feels like RNG that can just completely kill your run. Dark World is more like there's a lot of little RNG that you got to know and pay attention to, but it feels a lot more manageable for the most part. The only parts that aren't are the parts like the Light World revisits where you're going up Death Mountain again. just the parts that basically are Light World again are the bad parts of Dark World. While we're in Pod, I got a question for you of the spin speed Helma. What is the strat du jour now when Helma comes to the bottom? Because before he was on the bottom, you just go hold your sword out. But like with spin speed, like that's the one RNG that's terrible now. I haven't actually figured out how to deal with it.
Okay, so there's a couple things going on there. One is Helma should be dead before that happens, if it's a good fight. But
well, okay.
What you should do in that scenario is cancel the spin speed, and then either dash turn up and start slashing or hammering. I can't believe that bomb missed on Trinexx.
Yeah, I kind of saw that it was going to be pretty low. But yeah, that was my thought, is just cancel it and I guess just slash, but it's just really annoying.
Yeah, you can either... And it is important to dash turn, because when Helma pins you against the bottom wall, if you are not against the bottom wall, you will take damage.
Oh, so, yeah. That's what I'm saying before. That was almost the RNG you wanted, because you can just go to town on them. But
think probably it can happen if you get a bad walk pattern and double fireballs from Helma, even if you do the fight great. Because yeah, the fight is brutal. But yeah, your other option is to just wait, which is
It's bad. I think I just gotta get used to it and recognize it and cancel it.
it's a speed run, right? Waiting is
Yeah, bueno.
oh, okay. Good dodge on that fireball on Trinexx's side. Gets hit by the spike though. Just didn't go high enough.
Yeah, that does put you into one less hit for Helma, which is pretty bad. Tam going to select buffers on. That's something you'll see often. They are faster.
The thing about select buffers too is that when you get comfortable with them, they're faster, but you're also less likely to go too many frames because select buffers you can buffer the select buffer basically.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Waste input frames basically.
Yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically that is optimal. Going, you'd use your 2 free pause buffers, right, and then you can select buffer after that if needed. But it's kind of hard to kind of impressive. Tam was actually able to just mentally swap to that because it's generally with select buffers require a bit of setting up, like the hand position and everything. So, I mean, really, it's just you don't see it often. But it was actually pretty nicely done. I mean, of course, there was like a 30 pause there, which he's not going to be happy with. But I definitely give him credit for kind of audibling into that. And once he went to the select buffers, it was really well done.
Not taking damage there. Gonna save a little bit of time in the basement because we'll have beams for all of it. Not going for the spin speed strat. I respect it. Spin speed, as you mentioned, not fun necessarily. And if you're comfortable with sword out hammers, it's just a tiny bit slower. So it's totally okay.
Yeah, honestly, the spin speed, it's more of a consistency thing than anything. But if you're not consistent with the spin speeds, right, then it kind of comes out in the wash there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $25 for Tam on the turtles.
Now that we don't need money.
that room is so trolly because it's like it just rains money at you all the time, but it's after you don't need it. It's just like, why can't this room be earlier?
I mean, Trinexx got through pod, but not without its issues, right? It's a very challenging dungeon. Are seeing spin speed on Tam's side. That looks good far enough away. I'm pretty sure that Tam did get it.
Yeah, definitely. If you're hitting these hammers, you definitely got it.
Boxes are supposedly square, but I don't believe it. Looking at Helm before,
Yeah, no. Yeah, the other big adjustment you have to do is, for someone who's been playing the game for years, you really got used to your cues of the sword out and the shield and everything, and then just doing it naked all of a sudden is actually takes a considerable amount of practice. Actually, it's something you don't necessarily think of. So going to the spin speed, it's definitely a nice strat, but yeah, I definitely can respect anyone is sticking with the old method,
and that
especially with the. We had that seemed obvious in retrospect with the dash hammer that you could get the bigger hitbox on, and then that went away as soon as we figured out spin speed Helma.
And honestly, that might have been why Tam chose to cancel the spin speed on the last one and just go for a spin to finish off the fight, because it's easier, right? And just get out of the fight is all you're really looking to do. Especially
when Helma moved up, you kind of have some free. You have to walk anyways. You're not really sacrificing too much by. Getting that sword, trying that sword spin up.
Aside from the extra buffers on hammer jump, which was the only really thing wrong with Tam's pod, but there were a lot of them. So
yeah, I don't even think Tam is necessarily saving time versus Trinexx. Trinexx did have a little bit of a rough. They both had kind of rough pods for different reasons. But yeah, Trinexx still have a pretty nice commanding lead here. Really, those are the first mistakes of the run we've seen for Trinexx, and Tam's going to need Trinexx to make more. A Dark World's tough though, like I said, especially kind of in this skill range. Like you said, like everyone goes for everything, kind of. And
This is a
sometimes it just goes wrong.
Where like at the 124, 125 range, I don't really expect any issues from runners. But in the 127, 128 range, because you just react that tiny bit slower or don't recognize the RNG necessarily, you do tend to get beat up a bit more in this dungeon. So yeah, it can be a little bit slower. And then worst case scenario would be like dying in attic because the stupid crickets frame roll you twice. Like,
yeah, I mean, Thieves Town's generally pretty safe. But there's a couple RNGs in there that can just hit you and you can't do much about. And you just get a couple of those, and all of a sudden, you can be in a little bit of a hurt. But yeah, I mean, generally, Turtle Rock or Thieves Town's got to go pretty bad for you to actually die.
Mhm.
And like at least one of them has to be like, I don't think it can't just like purely RNG. You have to make like one mistake on top of that. Although I suppose like a really bad Hellway, and
a
then
Zazak drops you, or you pull it too far right and get hit by the ghost, something like that.
yeah.
And then like a bad Hellway, and then you accidentally take a hit on blind, or you get frame rolled by the crickets, or something really silly. So
Yeah, I've taken to keeping my sword, make sure my sword's out all those screens because I've gotten hit by one too many crickets.
with that said, 6 hearts, especially if you've played Rando a bunch, right? Like 6 hearts in Thieves is not that dangerous.
Yeah, honestly, like as far as like people who really concerned with Rando, like Thieves Town is one of like the best skills you can pick up, because you can it's available so early in Rando. So being able to do it on like very little health, something Trinexx has done plenty of times. So it kind of cuts both ways. It's going to help your NMG because you're used to doing it on low resources, and doing NMG is going to help your Rando because you always are doing it for low resources.
I want to branch out to other categories. RBO does Thieves Town's bootless with 4 hearts. So
RMG does it with 1 heart now. So you have the boots at least, but you have 1 heart and a fighter sword.
And yeah, there Trinexx, got the pixel, and this is something else I tend to see from runners in like the 128 range, which is you get the pixel and you're just so excited, you forget to read the RNG. And
yeah, I think like taking that hit off of that guy is not even like the worst thing, like depending on where he is. There he could have canceled and kind of gone around, but a lot of times I just face tank it, and then you can kind of use your iframes to get around him too. It's bad no matter what you do, right?
Thinking about health here, though, 5 versus 6 isn't that big of a deal in this dungeon.
He's kind of past the point where it's going to kill him, besides a blind mistake. Like, you can get hit by the fireball in prison.
Then, well, if prison's bad, then you pick up the hearts, so yeah, you're probably okay still. But, like... Yeah,
well, except you're most likely to get hit while dashing down, right? And then you're kind of past the hearts, so... But you're going to take 2 here. Like, he's fine. Like, even, like, especially this 127 range, like, you're definitely consistent enough at Thieves Town at this point.
That is certainly an RNG from the Hellway.
Yeah.
Right?
Like we said before, it always feels like the guy trailing is the one getting the kind of nasty RNG. Trinexx wasn't great either. But, at least got the pixel, got halfway through the room.
Like, once you get past the attic, there's not too much that's scary in Thieves. Sometimes the basement doesn't cooperate, but...
Yeah, I think, like, if you're on low health, sometimes the double Zizak, double Patrick Star room, you can get hit there, but this much health, you can, take the hit. But if you're on, like, two hearts, right, then that's a little nerve-wracking.
Honestly, the scary part about being on 2 hearts is you think to yourself, dang, I'm on 2 hearts, something bad could happen. And then it does.
Yeah.
Being
Game
on
seems
5,
like it has a way of knowing.
on 5 hearts, nothing goes wrong. So, great.
Trinexx has a split for blind and then a split for Thieves Town, which is kind of comical, honestly. I guess you have refill frames that you can save time on.
Yeah. If you've got an auto splitter, use it. That's how I feel about that.
I guess, but like I don't know how much information that's really giving you at that point. Apparently, he can save a second here though on this cutscene.
Well, I mean, if you finish this dungeon on 1 health, you're missing 7 hearts. Yeah, that's 70 frames.
Yeah,
right?
plus bad mashing. Yeah, I mean, you can
Up to 2 seconds, but I mean, mashing's not a big deal. It is so hard to mash like and not get a ton of idle frames. Yeah. Tam on 6 hearts. Exactly the same thing. Fully expect it to go well.
Yeah, honestly, like I think Thieves Town is probably the first split that becomes like super consistent for you. If not by time, at least by like not dying.
The second is Skull.
Really straightforward.
Because you don't have.
I mean, you have Moth. I mean, Moth can just Moth, right? Like, there's enough. Skull's got Moth and it's got Mummy Statue. Like, there's enough in there that can just go wrong. And like, Mummy Statue, you can get like really top end players are really consistent at it, but it takes a while to get to that level.
I mean, when I say consistent, I mean not taking extra hits, basically. Except for when the game decides you're just taking extra hit, right? Because everything in Skull hits for 2. And so mistakes are super punishing. You don't get many of them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, from that perspective, I'd say Mire, honestly. Especially when you're trying to pick up Spooky and like even if you're still carrying powder, right? You just are not allowed to use it all of a sudden. Like learning Spooky is what made my Mire consistent because I was like, oh, I can't use this anymore. Like I need to make sure I learn everything. There you go, Fence Dash from Trinexx. Maybe we can have the vaunted 2 Fence Dash race.
Too much speed for one universe to handle. So bad news for Tam. Since Trinexx took the only Fence Dash we're allowed. Sorry, you're missing it.
Hey, me and Aries race had a double Fence Dash. Probably the only one.
He's got enough speed for both of y'all, so it makes sense.
Yeah. He was also kind enough to spot me in the lead that I was able to get the first one in the tournament. It's something I'm gonna take to my grave. Put it on my tombstone.
And...
I don't even want to be buried. I just want the tombstone.
Good statue room. And imagine a good statue room where the Gibdo is not blocking the door. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Little pro tip for anyone struggling with statue room. The big secret there is to pull the statue down as little as possible.
And as little to the left as possible.
Yeah. I find that's less important because generally you can kind of avoid the mummies a little bit.
Pulling down not very much is definitely the biggest one.
Yeah, it's just like, and the other thing you can do is when you're like moving, if the mummy comes up to the bottom, you can do your slides on the statue on just like the top half to kind of avoid him a little bit. And like if you're close, you can get like another like 1 or 2 pushes in before he's going to slip off of it, and you can get it there. Wait, did Tam get it or not? Because I wasn't looking. Because we said he wasn't getting it.
Tam did not get it.
Okay. So we didn't curse it. We said he wasn't getting it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Trinexx stole that one from Tam. Gotta save some. Come on, Trinexx. Gotta make this closer. Can't be getting all this stuff and better RNG and all that. And yeah. Okay, so the Gibdo just decided he was gonna walk out of the way. Appreciate you.
Excuse me, Dad, they're called mummies?
They're called... Zelda has too many names. Trying to have a pretty decent Skull Woods.
He's having a decent this run except for Pod kind of went a little sideways. Like he's only plus 20. He saved time in his Skull Woods. Shoutouts to his 1 billion splits. But yeah, I mean, he certainly can save this 20 seconds if he keeps playing like this and doesn't make any more major mistakes.
Off by
But-
2.
Again, in this 127, like you're going to PB with a major mistake in your run, still. So he's definitely within shouting distance. I don't know like how good his splits are. Honestly, his light world was so good. I honestly think like he probably has got time save in this back half here because he was 10 ahead in his light world, and he's plus 20 now.
Looks like about 20 seconds to save an Ice Palace, and then another 20 in Turtle Rock, and then another 20 on Ganon. So,
yeah, like I said, when in this 127 range, you're going to have 2 or 3 splits probably with plus 20s in them that you can save time in, and then maybe like 1 or 2 good ones, you know, that you really don't have any time, probably going to lose time on. But yeah, this is a really good run from him so far.
The bit of a safer strat in Mummy Hellway, which like loses a second and 1 second for guaranteeing you do it right. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, honestly, Tam is having more of the kind of like average run you'd expect from like a 127, where you know things go a little wrong. He's a little over plus a minute. This is probably maybe a little bit below average for him, but you know, pretty decent for a race run. It's just Trinexx is having a PB run here, so he's really opened up a lot of ground here.
It's important strat in the game. Getting the shield block there. It saves like 10 frames of blocking. Recognizing that they were going to get hit by the Moblin, which is hard to do. So, very nicely done.
Yeah, I think that Moblin screen is one of those screens that like you won't even bother reading the RNG for a while because it's safe 90% of the time. So that's one of the screens that like in this range you kind of just face tank it without necessarily knowing all the RNGs there. So either he read it correctly or he was just going for it. One of the two. We'll give him credit for reading it correctly, but like that one, like that's one I just like always did. And if I got hit, I just yelled at the game. Honestly,
it sucks. Trinexx doing what he can to even this up by grabbing the wall. Unfortunately, that's
gonna
only
need a lot of wall grabs, dude. I don't think wall grabs at this point is gonna swing it. Something major definitely needs to happen, and like these are the splits where major things are going to happen. Honestly, like
everything
you can fail.
from here, yeah, bad stuff can happen. So
yeah, and like I don't even necessarily mean like, I mean there's obviously the deaths. You can have a death on Corsair. You can completely fail IPVJ and run out of bombs. But like there's a lot of like stuff in like the 30-second range too that can happen. Like just failing IPVJ once, right, is going to be like at least a 10-second time save, if not more, if you don't correct it fast enough. So you got that. You've got all the Death Mountain stuff that can just go sideways. Turtle Rock's just an RNG nightmare. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that can happen still. But granted, as we've seen
here, because the crabs don't behave or something, can lose you 10 seconds because you don't have beams for Ice Palace. So
yeah. Although, and then we'll say, granted, we're saying all this stuff can happen. That stuff can happen to Tam too, like, which has kind of been the story of this. Tam did save like 16 seconds or 18. I can't math. 18 seconds on his Skull Woods. So I guess had a little trouble in his Skull Woods in his PB. But yeah, he's like being a plus a minute in halfway through Dark World on just any given run. That's that's kind of like in that average. Kind of what you expect from like an average run. So like Tam's having a solid run here. It's just like I said, Trinexx is having a PB level run.
Yeah,
it's really the difference between the two. Like you go look at Tam's PB, it's gonna look like this. You know, his PB I'm sure was just as solid as what Trinexx is doing right now.
Trinexx, like with a good dungeon here, is actually going to be ahead of PB. So it's just hard to compete with a runner who's crushing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, this where they're pretty evenly matched to begin with. If one of them's crushing it, they're gonna walk away with it. But even if you have like someone if Trinexx was racing, like if Trinexx was racing me right now, even like he'd be beating me, 100%. Like it's, you know, just anyone who's just doing well. Oh, and all that happened. This room is terrible. I hate this room.
Yeah, easy to just get a little bit thrown off, and then once you mess up a little, you mess up a lot.
Yeah, here's
Oh, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, I saw that coming. This is what I was kind of talking about, where he's not really in danger of completely this here, but he is just giving up some gobs of time. That's a commentator's curse, okay? That's a commentator's curse from Dow right there. He's gonna be ahead of his PB after Ice Palace.
If it goes, yeah, you're right. Whatever.
That's exactly what you said.
Trinexx, turn off the stream. Stop listening. I don't know if you're here.
No, it doesn't matter. That's not how commentator curse works. Ask any goalie who's blown a shutout. It's definitely not how it works.
Oh, you are the stair clip player among us. I don't know what went wrong there.
Well, first of all, he didn't go to the new method. That was a weird way of setting it up. I'm not quite sure. That might be a rando thing, because in rando you're not necessarily coming in here with the hammer and stuff. And both of the ways to set it up that I know involve the hammer. But he might just be used to just YOLOing it and be a little more comfortable with that. That's why like his setup was kind of non-standard. But like that's one of the things I'll see from random players, even very good random players like Trinexx. They do things that like don't lose time in a random perspective, but because they have different equipment or they're on different like paws, might have a slightly different way of doing things, like that stair clip.
Okay.
And, Tam also failing IPVJ here, but both of them recovered though. I think Tam actually recovered a little bit faster too. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things that like, you know, Trinexx is making mistakes, but the places he's making mistakes he's making mistakes because they're hard, and Tam's just as likely to make mistakes there. So
this is one of the most challenging rooms in the game. The Pen Gators don't like to behave, even though it's technically super consistent. Link ice physics is very hard to manage. So.
Okay, there you go. That's the newer setup that we see. So Tam doing a very nice job on it, getting the stair clip there. I'm actually a little sad at that setup because I got pretty good at getting the right side stair clip. Like I was one of the few people who could get right side consistently, and now it's just like, yeah, just hammer up and down and you get it for free. I'm like, well, not everyone's doing it. You should honestly. It's that setup's good enough now. I suggest even you looking at it. Before it was like my thoughts on it before were like, if you had learned down slash, it's not worth it to kind of switch. Now I think it's strong enough and consistent enough that
bopped by the ice.
Yeah, I was a little nervous here. It can still take one more ice hit.
But can't touch cold, and got a few hits left for sure here. So.
Yeah, honestly, getting hit by cold is much less likely than getting hit by the ice. Once you're pretty experienced with this fight,
especially,
and you get experience with this fight going wrong too in this game. So, generally, if you're gonna get hit by cold, you're gonna get hit by ice into cold or something like that. So, it does clean it up though. Having the cold stair party. I mean, I think if there's one thing that's really like indicative in these like, like the 127 level is like. Cold stair parties happen with fairly regular frequency. It's a rough fight.
It's like probably one of the rooms that I have practiced the most, even if I haven't practiced it much recently, because it's very much like it's not consistent until it is, and then it's free. But
yeah, I think it's also one of those bosses that when you're just like you're doing warm-ups, just like you want to like kick the tires on it. So it's like if you're doing like maybe like 20 or 30 minutes before a practice before a run, you're probably going to do at least one cold stair. So yeah, you end up kind of practicing a lot from that, if not necessarily grinding it.
Trinexx doing all of his collection shopping, whatever you want to call it, here. It's definitely the safe way to do it.
Yeah, if anything, I think this has kind of become the new standard. I think the new standard really is Ether here and then Ice Rod and Turtle Rock.
Yeah, the
Seems to be
advantage
the most popular one.
saving Ice Rod for Turtle Rock is if you happen to run out of bombs in Ice Palace, there are plenty of them in your way in Swamp, so you'll always be able to do it.
Yeah.
Everything in Swamp, sometimes you're skipping your splits. Definitely never seen that from anybody named Dwayne, who's run out of bombs before.
I mean, like, theoretically, like, the optimal thing is, like, do hook or do ether in Mire, and then if you get hit, do Ice Rod to try to get the heart back. But like, if not, do it in Turtle Rock. But like, no one wants to screw with their splits enough to like save the one frame.
Run 2 sets of splits basically, and
yeah, you're not gonna ruin 2 sets of splits for like the one frame. So like, if you do ether in Mire, like, you're just gonna do both every time.
Yes, Tam still needing to get the Ice Rod. That is the worst place to push. Are you kidding me, game?
Yeah, I mean, like, part of like, there's a good chunk of the reason Tam is behind is Tam is just getting not the greatest RNG, and like, especially something like that, like it's only losing you, maybe losing like a second, if even that, but it's just so frustrating.
I mean,
especially when you're behind in a race like this, like, I mean, it's the game is more or less out of Tam's hands at this point. Trinexx is doing so well. He really needs Trinexx to make a mistake. Granted, he needs to play clean. That, I mean, if he's not playing clean, then Trinexx can make a mistake and still win.
At least just like bonk off of the guy, right?
Yeah.
Fine. But then you get stuck in them on top of that. It's just like, what is happening? But yeah, Swamp is a dungeon where it's hard. And because it's hard to completely blow it in this dungeon, most runners don't really give it any practice or anything. But this is a dungeon where, like, I know I've looked at your splits once or twice, Duck, and been like, I don't know what you're doing in Swamp while you're losing 15 seconds. But
the reason I'm losing the 15 seconds is I'm now good enough to get that 15-second time save. I just need to all fall together, which is actually pretty tough a lot. Where it's just, because I blew a 0 cycle or something, and I was only like plus 0.2 on my splits. So, and I still haven't golden it. So.
It's a challenging dungeon. There's just so much RNG, and you have to like pay attention to so many things. But yeah, like, it's surprisingly easy to lose like 20 or 30 seconds in this split if you're not diligent about it.
Yeah, and I think like generally you don't really sit down to practice it until kind of around this range when you're trying to push like the 126 to like 125 range is when you start realizing, like, I'm losing a bunch of time here. I really need to clean this up. So in this 127 range is where I expect, like, yeah, a little bit of slop in this dungeon. I mean, not just this dungeon, really, like the last until the end game.
At least like in Turtle Rock and Mire, a lot of it is you're losing time because you got destroyed by chomps and you're on 3 hearts for the rest of the dungeon, right? So like, it's just hard to confidently play Turtle Rock on low health.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that, like, especially in this tournament, like, you know, players in like the 127, like we'll be pretty even up until like the Turtle Rock segment, and then like as long as none of that stuff happens to me, which it happens to everyone, if that's generally where I can put a little time between me and an opponent.
There's nothing you can do about that red berry. I mean, I guess you can hope on. Like, it happens so infrequently that you're just not prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, Trinexx is, there's 3 hearts going into Argus here. I mean, this is the Argus generally you don't think of as one of the dangerous bosses, but this is, you know, you get hit by one of the Tektites on the way there. All of a sudden you're at 2 hearts, which is 1-hit KO from Argus.
On 3, I fully expect to get both hearts in the refill room. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, especially if he's watching the restream, I would just, I would definitely just like, oh, I got a little time here. Let me just, here we go. Ideally, even he would throw one of those pots at the berries too, maybe even grab the third one.
Yeah, we're in the prize pack. Trinexx is.
I have no idea. Me knowing where I am in the prize packs is like, I'm not gonna say my biggest weakness, but like definitely like one of like the complete holes in my game.
Not really something most people pay attention to until like 124. Not seeing a 0 cycle attempt here, which is totally fine because it is tough, and unless
Yeah,
you're comfortable.
I know Kaznode wasn't. I think he finally started going for it, but you know, Kaznode was famously not going for it even to the low 125 range.
It's like 6 to 8 seconds of time save if you get it, but it's also some of the hardest 6 to 8 seconds that you can get. So
yeah, it's one of those things. Like once you start getting decent at it, you can get a couple puffs out, and like if you can recover fast enough, then like you're not really losing time on going for it. Is the major thing. But it is when you do start going for it, that's how you can have the really big disaster Argus is if you just completely whiff a couple times and then he's in a really awkward spot. So Tam is going for it though. Pretty good setup. It looks. Oh, unfortunately, yeah. See, that's the thing about the reason the 0 cycle is so difficult is it is not only mechanically difficult with just getting the hook dash out and then the timing of it. There was a lot of RNG reading, which is really the true difficulty of it, in my opinion. And like there, I think we both noticed like, oh, you want to get that one on the left, and he went right instead. And we're like, oh no, like you can, once you get used to it, you can really see like how you want to hook. And it was a really good setup. I think he just misread it a little bit, or might be a little bit too much on autopilot still. And fortunately, just got away from him.
Meyer, we mentioned this is probably one of the most consistent splits. To me, this is probably the easiest Dark World dungeon.
It's one of the most consistent splits if you don't do your shopping here.
Yeah, it's like
that is an important caveat to this to that.
Aside from like Meyer 2, which can be challenging without beams, which Trinexx is going to have beams, and even with beams, it's not free by any means. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And aside from like things like beating the fireball, which I don't expect people to go for, but
yeah, I kind of go for it, but like I'm definitely hot reading it, like depending on like how good my movement was. Like if I have very clean movement, I'll go for it. But if anything, if there's even like a little nudge, I will bail out and do like the blunt strat where you go up a little bit,
like stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, that's bad RNG. Just if you don't see the second one, you want to go low, and unfortunately, sometimes it's still low. But it doesn't matter. Like the biggest thing is once you get consistent at Vidi and can do him
5 or 6 hearts.
Yeah, 5 or 6 hearts. Like you can, it is possible to do it consistently on 5 hearts and only take 4 hearts. That's pretty tough to do. It takes a little bit of practice to get there. Getting to the 5 heart range is actually not too bad. Saving that last heart consistently does require a little bit more effort, but like even 6 hearts at NMG, like some bad stuff has got to happen. The main thing is probably the slug. I think is the biggest trip up point, and
or problems in the spike room. But like at this range, don't expect problems in the spike room.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, right? Sometimes you hit the controller when you didn't mean to, but it's generally a pretty consistent room.
The only time we're going to have a mistake in this room, I think, at this level, is if we're still hooking to the pot. Don't hook to the skull. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, that or just, again, sometimes you just make a little controller or D-pad input error and it goes a little wrong. Like, that happens to everyone.
Yeah. And even like Spooky is super consistent. Like everybody's always worried about it, and they both have extra bombs, so they're going to be fine. But like, you don't miss Spooky that much.
Yeah, I think the big thing on Spooky is realizing where you pick up the rock actually will affect Spooky a little bit, and once you start being able to read that, then it's pretty easy.
Oh, okay. Also, that is the bad stuff that happens sometimes.
Oh, did Tam take a wizard to the face?
Tam fire rotted a little bit late when pushing that
rope. Yeah, he went to the bottom. And
then the Wizrobe spawned in a bad spot because of that, and took a hit.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Trinexx was avoiding Spark Ammo and still took a heart of damage from the Fire Snake. Just go like, this is definitely the time. Like because like we said, this dungeon gets pretty consistent pretty early. Honestly, just go for Spark Ammo. Like you realize pretty quickly, like you don't need that heart. Like what is that heart doing? Because like the big thing is like if you mess up Vidi, it's not like you mess up Vidi, you take an extra heart of damage. You mess up Vidi, you take an extra 3 hearts of damage. And like having the 1 extra from Spark Ammo isn't going to save you at that point. So, and you can see Tam. Oh no, not going for it. That's a weird route to take. That is the going for Spark Ammo and then bailing out of it route.
That's the. I see people do this because they go for Spark Gamble, and I don't know how to do it because I don't watch people who don't go for Spark Gamble route.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that is also, like, if the Fire Snake is in a bad spot, right, you have to do that. But the Fire Snake wasn't in a bad spot, so.
Speaking of, don't typically miss Spooky.
Oh,
Trinexx
wow.
Miss Spooky 3. Oh, that Zol almost landed on him.
Yeah, I think he... This is one thing I'll say about people who play a lot of Rando, is their reactions to very bizarre scenarios like that, like stuff you just do not see or wouldn't even, like, practice as a backup. Their reactions are much better on, like... Oh, there's like now there's a whatever the hell those things are called, blob following me, so I gotta deal with it instead of just kind of like going for it. Oh jeez,
Trinexx.
I would not have slashed there, but okay.
All right, we're okay, and Trinexx does have a few extra arrows, so arrow count's also looking good. Tam gets the first round of Spooky.
Yeah, but this is what I was saying, like kind of when we're coming into that swamp ice palace kind of range, where it's like not only is there the big deaths that you can possibly take, but there's a fair amount of like 30-second time losses, and Trinexx has kind of fallen into a couple of them here. So like I said, these last few splits, these are really what separates a 127 to like a 125 or 124 runner. Just really tough, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, like you're saying Meyer's consistent, but like
spinning a little bit far to the left. Okay, luckily the eyeball charged, so didn't have to walk across the middle. Or sorry, a little bit too far to the right, so missed the leftmost eyeball. Is that gonna? Okay, I can't count apparently. All right, this has been the least heart attacks I've managed to commentate yet. All right, like I'm getting nervous.
Yeah. But yeah, again, this is pretty standard for this skill range. It's just like I was saying, it's like you know how to do it, you feel consistent at it, right? But you still aren't 100% on it, and it goes wrong just as often as it goes right. But like you're confident enough to go for it, and that's how you kind of end up in the situation.
Yeah, Turtle Rock is like you mentioned, is one of the biggest differences between like 127, 128 runners and like 125 runners. And it's still one of the biggest differences between like 125 runners and 124 runners. This is a very challenging dungeon to do consistently fast and not die. Yeah, 13 hearts. Both of them are do the fairy still, so hopefully nothing too wrong will happen. Oh, okay. Even when Duck gets the correct version of it's wrong.
That's you are unaware of. How's that wrong? Anyways, we go down that rabbit hole.
Even just this room, torches.
This room is. I still struggle with this room.
It's like a 2-second time loss to not hook the torch right away, which isn't that bad, all things considered, but it just feels worse than that. Taking the intentional hit, we're expecting a fairy 1 room away. Please, game, help us out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a deal if it doesn't spawn here.
Until we get terrible chomps, but...
Yeah. I mean, that's always we do get it. So then the really good thing is now you have beams, which gives you a couple other options for, well, and we still got
okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, beams weren't gonna... Oh, wow, it was actually a little...
pattern.
That was actually really ballsy just to go for that and not bait the chomps first. The Trinexx ended up getting it, so... Like in that situation, I would have done the far left bait.
Tam fall.
Yeah, it's the holding the upright thing.
Platforms.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you have to be really confident in it because like if you put in a different input, you'll actually just fall right off. So that happened to me for a long time where I would fall off every once in a while.
Trinexx getting the hardest RNG, but
the fastest but hardest, yeah.
Please don't do. Okay, we didn't get blasted by the laser.
Ooh, and Tam taking a hit from this is generally if anything goes wrong in that roll room for me, I just mirror because once you're off cycle, it's going to be slow to get out of. Plus, you're still in danger of taking another hit. So just mirroring after taking a hit and it going south is, I think, the smart move, especially in a tournament race.
Unfortunately, fairies aren't like fairies in later Zelda games. They don't fully heal us. It's only 7 hearts, so you can't just take all the damage you want.
Wait, do they fully heal you in later Zelda games? I'm so used to this one now. I think when I start replaying this, I was surprised they didn't fully re-heal you. Now I'm the other way.
Good chomps on Tam's side.
Yeah, I got a little nervous there with where the chops ended up. He ended up going around the right side of the block. I think he was fine with his iframes, but better safe than sorry.
Now, this room right here is the #1 reason we want beams in this dungeon. It's a lot faster. Like,
oh no! Well, Trinexx does know how to get out of this. This is, especially for a random player, this is something that just happens. Trinexx is also the the incel like guru. So, is he gonna frame rule this block? Oh, okay. Yeah, now he's going for the. Hey, this is definitely opened the door for Tama though.
Yeah, you can get out of here. If you're not comfortable and you don't know how, just mirror. Like,
yeah, I'm surprised Trinexx is struggling so much with this. This is definitely something that happens. It might be a little bit of tournament nerves that he just kind of realizes this is letting his opponent back into the race.
Oh.
There it is.
Okay, we're
Very
out.
nicely done. He was actually in danger of running out of magic too, so he didn't really have a lot more tries at it. Yeah, the other strat is like where you put the block down and you boot it up, but you kind of have to. You don't have a lot of room to work with, and it can be a little tough. Is just gonna go ahead and I think this is probably a smart call here.
I had enough for 2 blocks still, so and you can see how easy this is with beams on Tam's side. Like, it's so much easier and faster too. So that room is really one of the reasons why we're so interested in having beams.
Yeah, I mean, just not even having to touch the Samaria really will prevent any of that stuff from happening too.
Mm-hmm.
But Trinexx still has the lead here, despite that mistake. Fairly comfortable, but definitely put this match back in shouting distance. I mean, he lost a minute there, over a minute. So, definitely opening the door for Tam. A lot of stuff can go wrong in Ganon's Tower. I see 127 players have a rough GT and still pull an 8-minute GT. I've seen players better than that do it too. I've done it, or it can just go south.
is just like so many rooms where you lose 20 frames or 30 frames, and then on top of that, you have to deal with Gauntlet and Aga 2 patterns and Moldorm 2, and it's just like.
Yeah, it's like there's a bunch of rooms you can lose 20 frames on, and then there's a bunch of rooms you can lose a couple seconds on.
Or 20 seconds on.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I guess it's the Moldorm 2 fall, but like, there's not too many rooms that you're just going to lose that much time in. Besides, like any other. I mean, any room you can lose that much time in, right? Just from things going very south. But yeah, it's just like it's a pile of 20 frames and then another pile of seconds, and it like I've had an 8-minute GT, and it's like it didn't even feel that bad. It was just all the little stuff. I think it's probably the only dungeon you can lose 40 seconds on just from little stuff, honestly. That you don't make a major mistake, but it ends up being a major mistake overall.
Very challenging to do fast.
And then Ganon warps at the end. I mean, not just even Ganon warps, but going to a 1+2 or a 2+2 cycle there. Or torch glitch, there's a lot of stuff left. Tam is definitely still in this.
Like probably about 30 seconds here. I didn't see the actual catch times, but text is only it's less than 30 seconds, I think, for Total Rock Crystal. So,
oh, just the text. I was like, it's like 50. What are you talking about?
Just text. Yeah, 30 seconds in GT. That's totally doable. In fact, like, I would feel comfortable probably making up 30 seconds on Trinexx's GT. But
741, yeah. Like I said, I mean, I said it earlier. He's probably got a chunk of time somewhere, and apparently it was in GT. But yeah, like GT feels like it actually kind of like you go from like 8 to like the 720s pretty quickly. I feel like just getting to that 8-minute hurdle, getting a sub 8 feels like it takes a while, and then like once you kind of get consistent at all that, like you start dropping it pretty quickly.
There's like so much to learn in this dungeon to pay. Oh, yeah, Trinexx was a little bit too far left actually to go for spike skip there. Still went for it. Maybe with like super good timing could have gotten it, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I didn't quite see. It's one of those weird things that like because you're kind of diagonaling down, it's hard to get a consistent queue there. To know where you are, because you might be a little pixel up, pixel down, which is all fine. It's pretty lenient on the Y for where you can get it, but it just makes getting like a queue where you have to bail out way harder.
Okay, Tam was also uncertain if that was the correct.
Oh yeah, he didn't walk to the right there. Like I said, there's literally any room. This isn't something you would expect to lose 20 seconds on, but literally any room it can happen to you, right? So
yeah, that room is like actually pretty precise. It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it doesn't. Once you kind of get used to it, it doesn't feel like it. Trying to get in the arrows early.
You do the fast strat, this is faster. With that,
yeah, I don't think he did the fast strat though.
That strat, it's about the same. I think it's slightly slower, so maybe just wants a couple extra spares for the fight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
maybe also wants extra spares for all of GT and is still going to grab these. No,
it does not. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a bit too too safe, honestly. Grabbing.
That's like I'm expecting to mess up GT so bad I have to do mimics twice. Is what that is.
Imagine he walked down instead of dashing down on that first one. It's got. I mean, it's pretty close. It is faster to dash though.
Mimics 1, pretty challenging room, but through it. Mimics 2. Oh, yep. Okay. Taking a lot of damage.
Yep. This is very Ganon's Tower. See that's also. Oh no. No, I just know I'm gonna hear it later now. Nicely done, bow dash.
Seven Hearts is this weird gray area where you definitely don't want the fairies, but also you're like,
you're not happy, but again, like this, I've meant to say this a couple times. Like when you're at 127, right? You're confident. Like, yeah, I can do Ganon's Tower on Seven Hearts, right? But it's like you don't quite have the skill to like do it 100%. It's more like 80, 85% that you're gonna get it. So it's still likely Trinexx is just gonna be just fine. It probably has a little like stuff like the TR stuff. It probably is gonna rattle you a little bit. Yes, Trinexx bow dashed it. Look, I'm just happy he didn't do the Blaine strat. That's all that matters. 123 viable strat.
this game is every strat is viable.
Excuse me, lamp on Ganon Torch is clearly not 123 viable.
All right.
I told you you're never gonna hear the end of that one. Just not gonna happen.
Okay, this is a room where you really don't want to mess up on Trinexx's side, but gets through it. You don't want to mess it up because fixing it is super weird. At this point, okay, that
Yeah, just don't say anything, Dad. What the hell's wrong with you? You're about to say at this point Trinexx is looking pretty good, but no.
Yeah, I mean, this is where
literally as he was, you didn't even get your entire curse out. He fell.
This is where you like breathe a sigh of relief in GT, and you're like, "Oh, thank God, we're done."
I mean, these rooms can still go bad. Like, I feel like you're sort of forgetting what it's like to have a 127 because that room, you're not breathing a sigh of relief in that room yet. Oh, Jesus.
Okay, Trinexx.
That jingle coming in the wrong time can really throw you off. So,
just in case. I know even Blunt, when he was going for 123, had a lot of problems with this room. The bomb on the conveyor is kind of finicky, so...
Yeah, I missed it last night for the first time in a while. And it was just added to the pile of my run last night. Like, it was just a complete disaster. It's fine.
Do you realize it's still the fewest heart attacks I've had on comms?
You must have had some wild races. But yeah, I mean, it is true, like, Trinexx is still looking pretty good here. Even a really bad Aga 2, even, like, maybe missing Torch Glitch.
A Ganon death will...
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the Ganon death. I didn't want to bring that up, but... Like, but... Yeah, like, it's... I think we need a Ganon death for Tam to catch up at this point. Or just like the worst warps I've ever seen, you know, and a missed Torch Glitch. It's still pretty comfortable for Trinexx here.
Recycle, very nicely done.
Yeah, well, again, it's just as like, you know, Tam's run has been solid run. You know, has had mistakes and everything, obviously, but like Trinexx's first half up until kind of like that Ice Palace was just so strong that he made a lot of mistakes, and it still has a comfortable lead here. So, it really, you know, I'm not gonna say won this, but if he does end up, you know, finishing this off with the win, really just won this game in the first half.
Yeah, 12 attacks, 12 hits, whatever, to get through phase 1, which is pretty, like, yeah, we're going to get it. 12 more to get through phase 2, which, nice pattern. This will be pretty easily handled, I think. And now we need 1,000,000 warps to even this up.
Yeah, or, I mean, is it Torch Glitch failure close?
Torch Glitch is about 40 seconds, so yeah.
Yeah, it's right there, right in that range. We'll see if Trinexx opts for the Dow lamp.
With a top right.
No, it does. Ooh, that's a not a That's a weird place to do torch glitch. Okay. Usually you see either face plant it into the torch or you'll do it all the way at the top, right? And yeah, of course. Yeah, unfortunately Tam does take the death. It's well, like I said, it's, you know, we kind of like are trying to like commentate like, oh, this is what would happen to like catch up, but all that bad stuff can happen to the person trailing as well. So just unfortunate there. But barring any absolute disaster at this point, Trinexx is going to end up taking this one. Once you're into these triples, you got the torch glitch. Especially as long as you're above 2 hearts, you're not really going to take a bat and die. Pretty safe. And Trinexx does take it down. We have the final bridge of treachery to cross, but fully expect him to be able to pull that one off. And there we have it. Trinexx is going to win. It's still sub 90 on that run. So very well done. That was, yeah. You know, a lot of times, if anything, you kind of expect these races to be won or lost in the back half. Trinexx just won it off the front half, which isn't something you normally see, but just a very, very strong front half. And then did leave the door open for Tam to kind of come back in that back half. But yeah, like I said, you know, like, the person trailing is likely to make mistakes too. And Tam made just enough that Trinexx was able to kind of solidify the win.
And we talked about Ganon giving 1,000,000 warps to the wrong player.
Yeah, like I said, it always happens to the person trailing. Like, I mean, I think it was true in the 80 tournament. We didn't have a single race determined by blue balls. Like, the only one I really remember was like the Aussie Andy one, and then Ase, Jesus, ended up getting the 1+2 to let Andy back into the lead. But yeah, like. It's a little bit more apparent there, obviously, with all the RNG being at the end. But, you know, even with blue balls, like, a lot of times these matches are going to be decided by a lot more than that. And we're now joined by Trinexx. GG.
Hello, GG. I'm going to need a quick legality check on that crystal roller.
Well, is this a PB? Well, I guess it is a race win, so... No, it's tier 1, right? So those are fine, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's unless anything happened with remote boom that I missed the ruling on. As far as I know, those are all still in.
Oh man.
Joined by Tam. GG's.
Hello, GG. I'm gonna need a quick.
So yeah, that was the other thing. You did the torch glitch in the middle, which is such a bizarre way of doing it. Like, I thought you were gonna miss it. Like, usually it's either face pressed or it's all the way up, because that's, you know, the timing of that. Did you just YOLO that shot? Like,
sort of. I didn't expect him to go full corner for some reason, and every time I do fire rod next to the torch, I keep screwing it up. So that felt safer, even if it wasn't proper.
Okay, sure, we'll go with that.
Sometimes situations don't go very well, because that was pretty tilting after some parts of that Ganon's Tower there. So
Ganon's Tower is the tilting part?
Like,
not the minute in Turtle Rock?
I had a good basement, and I was feeling good about the tower to be able to get some time save, but then after the torches one glitch fail, I just kind of was not fully in the right mindset though.
Yeah, but we were saying right before you came in, you basically won this race the most unconventional way, with the very strong first half, and then kind of like, besides the Turtle Rock thing, I wouldn't even say like anything too out of the ballpark of, you know, just the normal like 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, that you kind of see it like in that 127 range, and like, unfortunately half that stuff happened to Tam too, and just really wasn't able to capitalize on it. But very nice runs from both of you. Tam. That's what I was just saying. Tam had more of the standard run until that Ganon's death, but yeah.
Another 7 run was very nice. Maybe go watching someone else.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my splits, and I completely forgot about that 2-cycle land was like that. I've pretty much never had that in a run ever.
Yeah, is that a gold for you, by the way?
It was a gold land once I can go that far, but I don't remember my desert split. I think I have to look it up.
Because I had a 610 gold until like a week ago, so that would have beat my recent gold. So that was a very good desert. Like, again, your entire light world, like that's your light world's easy 125 pace light world, especially with maybe a little less blue balls.
Too bad. If only the time save was entirely the dark world.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 desert is real good. I would be surprised if it wasn't a goal.
Yeah. So, Tam, how did you feel about your run? I don't know if you were watching the race, but yeah, Trinexx kind of had that early lead. I don't know if that kind of played into your mentality at all at that point, or what was going through your mind.
I wasn't watching, but I would have been really surprised if he didn't have a lead because I was doing pretty poorly in every single split. I don't know, like I was making a lot of dumb mistakes, and then doing that on race train made me like kind of upset. I just kept making mistakes. I lost time in pretty much every single split but one, even aside from the cannon death.
Yeah, honestly, like I think like I said, Trinexx, you weren't watching, but Trinexx had a very, very good light world. Like he had a very excellent light world. So like the mistakes you had the Death Mountain stuff. Like that's just horrible luck that's going to happen to anyone. Like I know it's not necessarily like a run you're happy with, but like for just like an average run, you know, honestly, it's not that bad, and it's just Trinexx was running like PB pace, honestly, up until like Ice Palace. Honestly, both had a little trouble in pod, but then and then like kind of down the stretch, there was kind of issue. Like we both had issues in the Ice Palace bomb jump. Tam, you had the cold stare problem, so Trinexx did leave the door open, and like the main thing is he got trapped in the crystal roller room. He lost like a minute there, so that was really the bulk of it. But through GT, like if Trinexx missed like torch glitch, which he threatened to, the door was a little bit open at the end there.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering as I entered phase 2 again why he wasn't done yet, because I was
there you go,
really far behind, and then I die on cannon, and I'm like, I just threw this run that I had no reason to have won in the first place, but then he finished like 20 seconds after that, so it was fine.
Yeah, even without the deaths, Trinexx still would have won. He needed a major mistake at the end, but it was like going into Turtle Rock, he was ahead by like a minute and a half, and then towards the end it was only like 30 seconds because of that one mistake.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's super easy to get down on yourself with this game because I definitely struggle with that sometimes myself. Just like little things go wrong, and then you're like, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z better, but like you can't do everything better all the time.
Just 15 constant splits of feel bad. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is we were talking. This is like for the 127 range you guys are in. This is kind of how we expect any given run to go, where you know you have pretty good up into Ice, and then Ice Palace. There's something major that can happen in every single split down the stretch, and like you guys are still going to be PBing with major mistakes in those. So it really wasn't like that surprising or anything. I don't think either of you are overly happy with your runs, but for a tournament race. This is, I guess maybe on a little bit a lower end of what you expect, but still a good race. Trinexx did everything he could to make it exciting. So we had plenty
I didn't know that you could be low on the bomb toss for hammer jump.
Yeah,
it just never happened to me before to fail that way.
Oh, you just thought throwing it anywhere on the platform would have?
I mean, obviously close enough, but I've never actually missed the explosion there after the toss. So.
Yeah, it must have been pretty. I saw it and I was like, oh, that's. I think it's really low. I was gonna be surprised if it worked. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Tam, you had the. I was surprised you went to the select buffers. Like you did. Like I was actually impressed just having the mental wherewithal to go from the pause buffers to the select buffers. I know it ended up being like a 30 pause type situation, but it was a nice recovery after that to kind of like stay on focus.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like already kind of in full panic mode. I'm glad I got it over.
Yeah, so Dad, do you have a bracket up?
I do. Trinexx is
Awesome.
going on to face A0, and then the winner of that gets to face you, Duck. So how are you feeling
baby.
about chances against A0? How are you feeling about chances against Duck?
You should feel good.
Oh no, sorry about that. I was just distracted for a moment. I haven't watched 8-0 play too much there. I'm not sure how well they've been doing in this tournament so far. So be a little fun stretch there, but I expect it to end anytime soon now. So, and if I'm facing Duck after that for whatever reason, I'll just hope you get stuck in Crystal Roller Room and I find the way out faster.
No. I set my warp too low on Sasha for Dark World Rupees and then go back to Castle Gate. That's how I lose 2 minutes, apparently. You beat my run from last night. I just want to point that out, just to let you know. So, you have a chance. A good chance. But yeah, I mean, since the question got brought up, like, facing any of you two, like, you know, it's gonna, you know, you guys are both lowering your times a lot. I've got way more rust than either of you, so it should be a fun match. Tam, do you have any final thoughts on the tournament? Because you are going to be leaving us now.
Not in particular. I made it a little further than I was expecting, so I guess it was overall a success. I would have liked to have finished on a better run, but it is what it is. And of course, good luck to Trinexx going forwards.
GG to you. A lot of fun.
Yeah, Dow, you have any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I really appreciated the race. I think y'all both did great. I know it's very frustrating sometimes to play this game, but yeah, great job.
Alright, so let's shout out our runners, Tam and Trinexx, and thank you to our commentators, Apathy Duck and Dow TMB. Looking at our schedule, oops, I have the gate closed. Schedule's very busy tomorrow. We have 4 NMG matches on the schedule. The one at noon Eastern between Doomtap and Bitey still needs commentators, though. But the other 3 do have commentators. Kaznon versus SNES Chalmers at 6 p.m. Eastern, Blue Sentino versus Korek at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Void versus This Is Not Yoho at 9 p.m. Eastern. We also have the Majora's Mask Randomizer Standard Weekly Race at noon Eastern, Skyward Sword Randomizer Tournament Quarterfinal Match at 2 p.m. Eastern, a Zelda 2 Randomizer Max Rando Tournament Match at 2 p.m. Eastern, Wind Waker Bi-Weekly Tourney Settings Race at 3 p.m. Eastern, and the OT Randomizer Standard NA Weekly Race at 6 p.m. Eastern. And like, there was another NMG match that I forgot about, Kyung92 versus Chimo. That one also needs commentators first, though. And then we finish off with the Zelda 2 Randomizer Weekly Race at 10 p.m. Eastern. I almost forgot about what's going on right now, today. Over on ZeldaSpeedRuns_4, we have the Twilight Princess Any Percent Tournament. Losers Bracket Round 3, Chip Quaid versus the Real Sloth God. 7 going on right now in CSR 2. We have the Ocarina of Time Randomizer Freaky Fridays. We're going to go raid them. And then coming up at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on the main channel, another Zelda 2 Randomizer Max Random Tournament match between the Alan Heffley and Jacobus. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.